Hello, my name is Frank Rourke, and I'm a general contractor in Winter Park. And it's my privilege to be part of a team of community people who will be taking on the challenge of relocating the Capen house from its current location on Interlaken over to the gardens here at the Palatial Museum. And I'd like to walk through and talk a little bit about the challenges and where the house will be located on the property, and a little bit about the process of actually getting it to the location. So we're standing in the parking lot area now, and behind me are the gardens, and we're going to walk through and look at the area the house will be located and talk about some of those challenges. So we're going to walk down a little closer to the site and look at the exact location and talk about some of those challenges. We're now standing on the location where the house will sit when it's moved across the lake and rolled up into this property. This is about where the front door of the house would be, with the front of the house facing towards Osceola Avenue to my south, and then the rear of the house facing the lake. And you can see when you look down the lake that we're looking downhill and have a beautiful view of Lake Osceola. And we have this lovely lot with a lot of trees on it. So we've got the challenge now of how are we going to get the house that's across the lake on its current location over to this location and put up here on the lot. And people ask me about this, ask me a lot about this process of doing that. And I want to just talk a little bit about that. And the way it would work is we will have a series of barges brought in, and they will be brought in from Aloma Avenue through an opening in the hedge into a large grassy parking lot that we have for overflow parking. And that will be a staging area for equipment, steel, barges, and other items that we're going to need for the house move. The barges are in individual sections, and each section is about 10 feet wide by 40 feet long. Pieces will be brought down and dragged with equipment down to the lake, where they will be set into the lake with a crane. And then when pieces are put into the lake, the pieces will be joined together and pinned together to form a raft until we get a raft about 40 feet by 60 feet. And that will be enough size in order to carry the house across the lake. And we're going to need to do that in two pieces because of the narrowness of the lot that the house sits on now, in order to be able to get it from its current location down through the narrow tree line into the lake. We're going to actually have to cut the house into two pieces, bring it down one half at a time, and put it on the barge. The barge will then float across the lake with half of the house on it. As the barge will be launched, assembled and launched down here at the edge of the lake. It then will be guided across the lake with a couple of small motorboats and to approximately quarter to a half mile away where the existing house is located on the existing property. And once the barge is assembled and put into the water, we build a kind of large gangplank or a ramp that goes from the land out to the barge, which sits just off the shore. And that's to allow the equipment to drive onto the barge, to both bring the house onto the barge and to roll the house off of the barge. The barge will then be taken over to the current location on Interlaken Avenue. Half of the house will be rolled down onto the barge. And that is quite a challenge in itself, because of the narrowness of the existing lot. The house cannot be taken down in one piece. It's going to have to be cut in half. And there also exists a swimming pool between the house and the lake. And the swimming pool has to be preserved, so we have to build a bridge or a ramp over the swimming pool, over which we're going to roll the house one half at a time to get it down to the lake to roll it onto the barge. When we roll that first half onto the barge, get it out onto the lake, the motorboats are then going to drive it across, guide it across the lake very slowly, 2 or 3 miles an hour is the speed it comes, bring it back over here to this property at the Palashik, in which it anchors or parks just off the shore. We extend the ramp back onto the barge, and then they have the equipment, and the front end loaders will take the house and they will pull the house, roll it off of the barge, because the house is up on steel beams and girders and on dollies with wheels, and it will be rolled off of the barge onto this property, up the hill, onto its future location, which is just up the hill. Now that has to be done in 2 pieces, so we're going to take one half of the house, we're going to go through that process, and we're going to park it up here off to the side. Then we're going to go back with the barge and we're going to get the other half, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to load that second half and put it on the barge, go over the pool, bring it to the lake, onto the barge, bring it across the lake, park it here, roll it off of the barge and bring it up here and put that second half off out of the way to the side, leaving enough room down the middle to take the barge apart, to get the barge out of the lake and back up to the roadway. Because the only way to get it back up there is through the property, but now we have 2 houses in the way. So we've got to figure that out and make enough room, take the barge apart with the equipment, drag the pieces up through between the houses and up into the parking lot where it could be loaded on the trailers and taken back off of the property. After the barge is disassembled and taken out of here, then the 2 halves of the houses can be brought together and married back together, and we're hoping they fit, and they will be put in there, rolled into their permanent location and turned or moved as need be to fit just where they're going to go, and then those pieces will be put up on blocks of wood, where they will then be set down on the blocks of wood, and the wheels will be taken out from underneath and pulled out of the way. And at that point, the house will be saved from the property it was, and we'll know we'll have it in a safe condition. That is phase 1 of saving the house.